Right,
Like
welcome back, everybody. I hope that worked. I hope you saw our little start intro video that we've just done. But yeah, welcome everybody to Tom and Amy Paranormal Mysteries. Again, joined by Hefty and Nick from America. Tonight we are talking about vampires and the legend of Dracula or Vlad the Impaler. So first of all, guys, how's the week been? Anything paranormal wise, or what have you been up to?
Well, sorry. Go ahead, Nick. There we go. It's always, I'm so awkward. The week has been nothing but sunshine and rainbow unicorn farts.
Yeah,
as we discussed earlier. Great week.
And Nick, you've had your new book you put on, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's been pretty quiet for myself, although I actually do have, after several months of waiting, I do have an investigation coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. So we're going to be checking out the Crown Point jail out in Crown Point, Indiana, which fortunately is only just an hour and a half away from where I live. So meeting up with the Things team and really looking forward to being a part of it, because I've been wanting to investigate for months.
Yeah, that's sorry, go on now.
Oh no, I was going to say, is that going up? There's going to be a video, I'm assuming, yeah?
Yeah, we're going to be filming live on it. In fact, we might even be filming it on the network. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm actually supposed to be on another show. I'm going to be on another episode of the 13th Dimension later tonight, this evening, with Jeremy, Tim, and Scott. Going to be talking about the Mothman, so I'm looking forward to that. But probably after the show, we'll be discussing more details of how this whole investigation is going to go.
Yeah, happy days. Yeah, I mean, we're hoping to get out and about. Hopefully, we're starting to plan a few things soon. It might just be more outdoor ones at the moment. We're not allowed to go inside anywhere. Although I work in a shop 24 hours a day, but you know. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get out and about and start investigating, because I think people are getting fed up of doll videos.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. That's really awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, so vampires. Now, I've been obviously researching today about vampires, and I found this where it originally came from, like through history. It's not something that just like appeared. It's more like it's developed over time. Now, there's a bit here that says that vampires originally came from. Where's it gone now?
Sorry to cut you off, Tom, but Jeremy, obviously, they're watching right now. Yeah, we are doing a live panel. He's right. Yep.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's because I'm on the wrong thing. Excuse me. I'm on the wrong thing. I'm wondering where it's gone. I'm on the wrong thing.
You're over-organized today, Tom. It's okay. You got this, buddy.
So many things open in the background. I can't find anything. So yeah, it originally came from, so when people were buried, sometimes they would have to move the body or something, and when they would go to dig up the corpse, they would find that the corpse's skin had shrunk, revealing its teeth and fingernails to have grown longer, and also they would find this like dark fluid leaking out of its nose and mouth. Of course, they automatically thought that these people were rising from their graves, like sucking people's blood and then going back underground and that. But actually, the phenomenon of the fluid coming out of your nose and mouth is down to a breakdown of the internal organs. Causes this dark purge fluid, they call it, to leak out your nose and mouth. And obviously the skin and the teeth and fingernails is just because your skin shrunk, to make it look like it's grown. But this is where people start talking about it, and because of religion and stuff
just
like
that. Back in the day when there wasn't all, when you didn't know as much as you do these days.
Yeah, like the medical, like by medical records and stuff like. I mean, you see, like in the early days too, like they also would say their finger and toenails would still be growing, which, it is. We now know that the nails still do grow even after death. It's almost like, as I would say, the last living part of the body that's actually still living. I mean, it only goes for. I'm not exactly sure how long it usually lasts for. I know it lasts for a couple of days, but it is known that the nails still grow, and that was another reason why people thought these were vampires or that they had returned from the undead. And yeah, like you said, the blood in the mouth, of course, because the gases are forcing the gases through the, the fluids up through the nose and mouth. And that would, obviously give the belief that this person was a vampire.
Yeah. And depending on the culture as well, it's dependent on how they would go about obviously trying to kill the vampire.
Yeah.
So sometimes they would either stake them in the heart, chop the head off to separate it, chain them up with like holy water chains that have also been dipped in holy water and with a stake, or even with a cross.
I was reading here also that apparently they would link it a lot to outbreaks of diseases, particularly the plague. Like they used to think that these vampires would first, before they like drank your blood and all this, they would infect people with diseases like the plague. And it says here in 2006, archaeologists unearthed a 16th century skull in Venice that had been buried among plague victims with a brick in its mouth. It says the brick was likely a burial tactic to prevent straga, Italian vampires or witches, from leaving the grave to eat people. And that was common practice back then. That's how much they believed in this, that they bury you with a brick in your mouth to stop you coming forward, which is
nice.
It's crazy, yeah.
I figured they would do that to me just so I would finally shut up and stop talking.
Tim here says, he thinks tuberculosis is to blame for a lot of vampire claims. That is absolutely true because, you look at tuberculosis claims where people, that was obviously a disease that you cough up blood on multiple occasions because, tuberculosis, it can attack any part of the body, but most often it attacks the lungs. Mm-hmm. That's where the blood kind of comes in, especially for those who died of the disease.
I was reading actually recently that there is an actual disease that people have that makes you like crave blood. I really wish I had prepped for this because I would have pulled the news article up, but it was a few days ago that I read it. So
I'm on it.
See, I know of something like that. It's more cannibalism than just blood. There's actually something known as Wendigo psychosis. Is that it?
No, this is like an actual medical thing. I'm kicking myself for not bringing it up, but it looks like Tom is on top of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping in. Sorry, I have read that today actually. It's called Haematomania.
There you go. That's the one.
That's
craving blood. And I was gonna bring it up further on, but we'll bring it up now since we've just mentioned it. A bit of a bombshell for everyone. Vampires are real. They do exist.
That might even be the one I was reading because that's why I was like, wait, what? And then I started reading it and I was like, well.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
An example of a vampire that is actually out there at the moment that is actually in our society, not in our society, but I think in America actually, is Don Henry, who is part of the Mad House series. And he believes that he is a hybrid which not only drinks blood but also takes psychic energy from a person by touch. So, I'll go into more about him anyway. But he's one of many. But
apparently, there's thousands there. Like these people with this condition. Originally it was termed as more of a psychological condition. It was termed as more of a mental disorder, but it's actually been classed now as haematomania, which is the craving to drink blood. Those who experience it describe it as an intense thirst-like sensation, an addiction with withdrawal-like symptoms. To drink animal blood or rare steaks are sometimes substitutes. But sometimes for some of these people, nothing beats actual fresh blood, human blood. It says frequency and amount vary, but for many, only a few teaspoons a week is enough to obviously suppress that craving, which is crazy.
It's got to be tough for them these days.
Well, most of them actually have their own donors.
They have real donors,
which are screened to make sure that they have no blood, AIDS.
Yeah, they have to have health.
That's crazy. It's like, hey, what do you do? I'm a blood donor. Oh, that's awesome. What do you? Oh, I know this guy. I met him down in the French Quarter in New Orleans, and he seemed like a reasonable guy. He just asked me for some blood, kicks me some money here and there. I can't imagine that. That's insane.
Yeah, Emmy, you
Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, like, that's actually have these donors, and apparently they would use like a scalpel and they will cut your skin in a place where it won't scar, and these people would either drink it directly from your skin, or they could obviously like a blood donor, you funnel it off into a bag as such.
They call it like that. They're vial. You
drink it from that. I mean, you can read about it. It's on the Guardian. It's an article they did about it, interviewing these people, and it is real as much as is obviously today's society has made it more about like, oh, they burn in sunlight and they can't look in a mirror and all this, but
some people as well, actually, they won't just do it those two ways. They have their teeth actually either filed or increased, and actually will do it with their hands.
See, but what I don't understand about that is like, if you've like, you need another kind of like, you need like a third hole or be able to just like suck them out, because like the blood wouldn't just, you'd have to have like another air opening if you had like the two teeth in there.
Right.
Like it just, does that not make sense? Like, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't just siphon out. Like you'd have to have some kind of airflow so that the blood would actually pump into. Well, I don't know. What do I know?
I think it's more the sensation of being able to bite the meat and just get a little bit of the blood, not necessarily like.
Okay.
Regan.
I didn't say anything.
What Rob said was saying it is when they just call it vampirism. That is actually it's common term, vampirism. That's what it's Haematomania. It's just a scientific name they give it, obviously. But yeah,
as far as I know, the word vampirism does exist, in the definition. So that's why I've seen it on shows. People call it vampirism. So I'm pretty sure that's a true definition.
When the heart blood pump blood out of the puncture wounds. I suppose it would, Rob.
It's supposed to be a good experience for both parties, supposedly.
How it's a good experience, I have no idea.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, there's some masochists out there.
Yeah.
But it's no different from a love
fight. Well, there is
one
one case I heard of.
Yeah.
There is one case I've heard of, somebody who claims that they were, that he's a vampire. He's actually been on a few shows. In fact, several years ago, he was actually on a paranormal series on National Geographic called, I don't know if you guys ever remember that show, Is It Real? And Ollie said, oh, that's a wee freaky. So about the image.
Yeah.
And he, see, it's been a while since I've seen it, but he does claim he really is a vampire, but he also claims that there are not like people out there that go out and randomly search for victims or anything. And he actually demonstrated that on part of the show, because he had a girlfriend of his who wasn't a vampire herself, but I guess more or less had accepted how his lifestyle was, and he actually did drink her blood, but not like you see in the movies. Practically, he would take kind of like one of those hospital needles, put it in a small beaker, not a lot, so that way, because you take too much blood out of that person's going to die of blood loss.
Yeah.
And he would take just a small sample of it and drink it right in front of the camera. So, and it was actually with his permission to do so. Like, he allowed this to be on camera. Probably the only time I've ever seen something like that on actual television show.
Yeah, I think it was called "Are Vampires Real?" or "Do They Live Among Us?" Something along those lines. It was on TV, like National Geographic.
Yeah. It was a show called "Is It Real?" and they did an episode on vampires. Vampires.
Yeah, Don Henry does exactly the same as well on National Geographic. He shows.
It was him. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, it is him. Yeah, okay. Don Henry. Yeah.
I was reading it, there's a lot of them that, because obviously a lot of these people do exist. A lot of them don't. He said that the people that they were interviewing, so they don't like dress up like gothic or anything, and that's very misconstrued that that's what they're like and stuff, and that they're saying that they don't go out in sunlight. He says that's not true. He says it's just nine times out of 10 they're just normal people. They're just
it's like a medical condition.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
also like a different culture too. Like they're just like anybody else, but live a different lifestyle compared to most of us.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
it's
think in America, you guys actually have a lot of clubs as well for people that believe
Yes,
that they're
we do.
We did.
Yeah, we're
No, I don't think they're allowed to be open past 11.
Yeah, I mean that's where most of these kind of gothic vampires come from. I mean, it is true most of the time they really don't dress up like that on a regular basis. The only time you really ever see that is when they're going to these what are called vampire clubs, and it's interesting. I think years ago they and Adam, since you live up in New York, the funny part was they used to say New York City.
Don't remind me.
New York City was considered the realm of vampires on these different clubs. I mean, at that time, it was like really the only place in the world where it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and in person. But now that seems to be kind of, I don't know if that's still like that in New York, but now it seems like it's New Orleans that has kind of taken over that spot.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Tom and Amy in the green room before the show. I call it the green room. But when I was talking to them, I used to live down there. I used to live in Metairie, which is a suburb about 15, 20 minutes outside of New Orleans in the mid-90s. And they were filming Interview with a Vampire. I ended up going to school with Anne Rice's nephew. There's like a whole story there, but they were filming the when the place burns down. It was like, I remember when they were filming it, and me and my old man, we would go on Sunday drives, and we actually drove past one of the plantations they were filming at, and they still had like the chicken coops set up and everything like that. And there's just something about New Orleans, just inherently spiritual and freaky deaky, and just like there's a lot of energy there, man. It's like crazy, but yeah, it's very prevalent down there as well. Yes.
Yeah, I mean there was actually a documentary was made on the History Channel about almost 15 years ago now. I think it was called Vampire Secrets or something like that. It was a 2-hour documentary, and they covered a segment of the vampire clubs. And there was a newspaper reporter who actually went to one of these clubs. Not like she was not like trying to infiltrate or anything, just wanting to know like what this other world, this other realm of vampires is like. And this was back, I believe it was 1996 that she went, and I learned that they actually spoke with a real one of these club members on the show. He said back then you had different ways of getting access into these clubs. I mean, you had to have like these cards ready to get in, or you actually could call a number that was called Vampire Access Line and leave a message, and they might go back and invite you to a meeting. You have to remember, this was back in the mid-90s. They didn't have all the social media back then, so they were still using the phone numbers then.
We had beepers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And she was able to get access to the club, and she spoke with somebody. She kind of, I don't know if she really liked the guy. I mean, but she hung out with him for a while at the club, saying that he was a vampire in New York City. And she ended up coming back a few times. But the most bizarre aspect of this whole thing was she felt as if she was being followed. She does not. Now, there's no evidence at all to show this was any of the work of these vampire clubs that she went to. Was it somebody else that was trailing, that was trying to either capture the same story she was, or were they trying to infiltrate? No one knows, but mysteriously she vanished. And as far as I know, she's not been found. There were claims that there was a white van that was following her, but there's the worst part is that there's no documented proof that she'd been kidnapped. But most people still believe to this day that she may be still alive. But according to a lot of vampires if you talk to the vampire club members there, they say their views on that is rather, limited.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if you search something along the lines of an interview with the Vampire Club on YouTube, you'll be able to find the one that she's part of. It's a well-known one.
I've never heard of it personally.
No, neither have I. But that is something I'm definitely going to look into now, because that's actually super creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a bit.
I'm actually going to look it up right now to see if I can, because I know it was. Yeah, I think it was called Vampire Secrets on the History Channel.
Yeah.
It's actually available on Vimeo for free, so you guys can just watch. You guys can just watch it there later. Yeah, it's just like an hour and a half, and they cover different vampire cases, not just the clubs.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, obviously, when we're talking about vampires, for me especially, the first person that comes into my mind is this dude here, Vlad the Impaler. Now, Vlad the Impaler is obviously he's a Romanian. He's a Romanian king. Is Vlad III? He was born in 1431, died in 1476, and he got the name Vlad the Impaler because of his extreme methods of punishing his enemies.
Here, you got a picture, haven't you?
Which I can obviously bring up. 2 seconds.
If you don't like things like
if you don't like gruesome things or you squeamish or anything, look away now.
Yeah.
Or stop watching.
Oh, I know this. I already know this one. It's no surprise to me.
This is not too bad though. It's all in black and white.
Yeah.
This is basically this guy here. This is obviously Vlad, and this is basically what he would do.
He looks like Gandalf in that picture. I'm like, hello, hobbitses. What's going on over here?
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? I'm dying. So obviously
he'd eat his dinner while watching these people screaming in agony.
Yeah,
being impaled.
Yeah, and why is it coming in now? Where's it gone? Why do these websites keep on moving all the information? It's in one place, and you go back to it, and it's moved.
It's because they know you're doing the show. So like, let's mess with Tom.
Just trying to mess me up now. So his penchant for impaling his enemies on stakes in the ground and leaving them to die earned him the name Vlad the Impaler. He inflicted this type of torture on foreign and domestic enemies alike, notably as he retreated from a battle in 1462. He left a field filled with thousands of impaled victims as a deterrent to his pursuing Ottoman forces.
At least 100,000.
There you go, at least 100,000.
Put them off.
I mean, now, did he do that by himself, or did he command others? I'm like, this guy's either like super dedicated, or were there like followers of Vlad?
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. See, I saw Tim Kohler here obviously earlier. It's too bad that he wasn't able to come out to this because he Tim is a real huge expert on Vlad the Impaler. I mean, he could talk to you guys for hours on it. But yeah, I've learned some stuff, about Vlad that I never knew about from Tim. And what's one of the newest things I heard, and this was actually from these impaled victims, was that when the Turkish Ottoman Empire, arrived, obviously they were horrified to see a forest of stakes, with bodies hanging on top. I mean, like I said, these are some 20,000 to almost 100,000 victims. And some of these guys have been up there for weeks, if not for months. And
I feel that you would smell that before you would see it. So there's like an impending, you're like, oh, this is not going to be good,
Well, I think what's also more in there was that some of these people, these guys that were impaled, were even still alive. Like they were just, they were literally asking, screaming, whatever they had left, help me, get me out of this. And the Ottoman Empire, they were just so shocked at what they were seeing that there was just nothing that they could do. It was just such a horrific sight. And so that really kind of served as a deterrent. And yes, Ronnie said, Vlad often usually put the heads of enemies on posts. There is something that should be noted, though, and again, this is another thing Tim has spoken about. There's really no proof, actually, if he actually really did drink blood, because you have to remember, he was the ruler of Wallachia. And in those days, the earliest Christians did fear of cannibalism and vampirism, not only in that area, but throughout a good portion of Europe. If he had engaged in some type of vampirism or cannibalism, he would have been thrown out of his reign at that point, because that was very frowned upon at that time.
Taboo,
yeah, it was very taboo, very frowned upon. So if that was a real painting, that would have been on his last day of ruling Wallachia. which is now modern day Transylvania, Romania.
Yeah.
What's really funny though is like, so like the Chinese, for instance, the way they got rid of their enemies with a kite and bamboo shoots, and it would make a noise in the air, and it would scare their enemies away. No, Vlad the Impaler, he wanted people to be impaled, screaming.
He was a showman all the way.
Yeah, but it leaves a message, doesn't it? I mean, like you say, Adam, like for people, like they obviously smell that before they get anywhere near it.
Oh yeah, and death is like that's such a distinct odor, especially for like soldiers. The smell of death. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, and if it's like an overwhelming, miasmic stench, you're just like, oh, this is not going to be good. And then you see it, and it's almost just like, which is worse? The lead up or the visceral punch that you get from seeing that kind of display of barbarianism.
If that's not enough, and again, Tim would explain this better than I could, but at one point when he and his army were still in the war with the Ottoman Empire, I guess maybe as a type of intimidation way, it wasn't just that he really kind of scared off a lot of these men that wanted to fight. At one point, he sent a package back to the Turks.
Mm-hmm.
And what was inside was, you're going to find this hard to believe, about 10,000 noses.
Noses?
Noses. Many of them from the impaled victims.
Yeah.
Like sliced. And we're talking
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Just think of that.
Yeah, Tim, obviously, again, Tim would say this too. Vlad, despite what he had done, some people obviously look at him as like one of the most evil men that ever lived. It was true, but he was also trying to do whatever he possibly can to not only survive for himself, for his wife and their only child, but also for his people. He's basically looked at as both a villain and also a hero because he was trying to protect his own people. So it was. And you have to remember, this was at a different era. So, sometimes violence was practically part of everyday life at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, as well, a lot of people actually believe that he wasn't the most notorious, the most disgusting kind of vampire man back then. It was actually supposed to be Bathory.
Yes, I was going to ask, can we talk about Elizabeth Bathory, please? Yeah. I was like sitting on that. I was waiting for a I was like, are we going to talk about Elizabeth Bathory?
She's actually more notorious than him because of what she did. Well, supposedly did.
To her slaves, wasn't it?
Probably did.
Oh, God, yeah.
I want you watch the movie, the Bathory movie. It actually explains it in a different light, so that actually she could have been bathing in rose petals, for instance, and they would take it as it was blood. But like I say, we don't know.
It was that many rose petals.
Well,
yeah. Well, not only that, but like I don't know. I you know what? In my heart of hearts, she was bathing in blood. Because that's just, if you think about that, that is just brutal. That is just and uncalled for. But it's like super brutal. It's like whoa.
It's like I heard this from a show, but far more frightening that kind of thing than what a male could do is a woman that tortures and murders young girls. I mean, she was seeking. It wasn't even just the disgust, the grossness of it. It was just absolute power. She had true power.
Yeah, power hungry, completely all the way.
Yeah, I mean, and even her family, the Bathory family, they were richer than the King of Hungary. They had they were just a lot more richer. I mean, wealthier. They kind of almost beat the King of Hungary at that time.
Jeez.
And my thoughts is obviously like today's day and age. Obviously, everyone always seeks to try and stay young, and obviously nobody wants to grow old. Nobody wants to die. And obviously we've got like medication now. We've got obviously Botox stuff and all this and that. I suppose back then that was like their version of trying to stay young, wasn't it? Like it's
right.
That's to them to go to those extremes because violence and stuff back then was common day. Like to see people hung in it normal.
Well, I suppose
it didn't mean anything to them to do these kind of things.
They used to back then. They used to actually use blood, and actually women used to paint it on their face to think it would give them youth.
To regenerate the skin.
Which is actually not that weird, because in our day and age now, I think they call it the vampire injection or something, where they actually purposely create cuts in your face and then rub it into your skin, which is what females do in stage now. To actually create a more. So really, is it weird? Because that's what they did back then. That's what we do today.
We just modernized it.
So. Yeah.
Wow, I was not aware of that. And yes, to answer your question, yes, that's weird.
It's maybe just like I said earlier too. It wasn't even just the blood consumption that was just kind of, for something like that to occur, like the violence that just erupted, and it wasn't even just for, thrills. It was for, intimidation, trying to keep everybody in line. And Vlad and Elizabeth Bathory pretty much did the, kind of showed their ways of like intimidation to those who worked for them or for those who lived in the country. In fact, an example for Bathory, and not to get too graphic, but she also herself invented a little trick of hers. It was called star kicking. Here's what you do: you take the servant girl, you tie her up, of course. You put little pieces of paper dabbed in oil, and then you set them on fire. And the girl is screaming, kicking and screaming in pain that she sees stars coming from the flames. That usually taught them to be a good servant girl at that point.
Yeah.
Freaking heck.
Wow.
So actually, Vlad's kind of like a little puppy dog.
That control thing, isn't it? Like, I mean, today's day and age, we have laws and stuff, and like if you break the law, you go to prison and that. Back then, it was more like simplistic. Like you don't do as I say. I'm gonna
kill you.
Yeah, that's.
I'm gonna make an example of you. That's probably a better, more accurate description.
But like Ronnie said, I mean, he'd end up in the dungeon though. So
yeah, Vlad did end up. It was by the Hungarians, I believe.
There's different versions of. There's different versions of who he was who actually imprisoned him. Some say it was the Hungarians, others were the Turks. Again, Tim would know this too. But the one I remember hearing was that Vlad the Impaler, near the end of his life, was eventually imprisoned by John Hunyadi's son. And he couldn't, I guess he still couldn't get out of that type of craze of murdering and impale people. So what he actually did instead was that he actually impaled rats and insects with little stakes. So he continued his love of impalement even when he was imprisoned.
Wow.
Yeah, it says here, obviously there's, like you say, there's different versions. This version says he escaped the Ottoman Empire by obviously doing what he did with the bodies, but then he was captured and imprisoned by Matthias I of Hungary, who he had sought assistance from originally. But he regained his seat in 1476, but was killed in battle the same year. It's obviously a different version now.
Right.
It's that long ago, and obviously documentation of these kind of things is very few and far between. It's almost like trying to put pieces of the puzzle together. Like it's all these like Chinese whispers things, and there's truth running through it somewhere. Like with the dungeon, with who captured him, there's the truths in it all the way through, but it's what is the full truth is I don't think we'll ever really know for sure, will we?
No, it's whatever we have in our books at the end of the day, what was written up. So
well, here's another thing, and this is another thing that even still is somewhat around today. Vlad, for the most part, although he was married, and I think I believe they had at least one child of theirs. Mm-hmm. Again, Tim would really. I wish Tim was here to help me out.
Where are you, Tim? way to just slack a little bit, man.
But
disappointed.
If he did have a child of his or not, he never really got married or anything. So the point I'm getting to is that there are no modern day living descendants of Vlad. Now, about 20 years ago, there was another documentary that was made on Vlad, and they interviewed someone who claimed was a descendant of Vlad. And I spoke to Tim about that, saying, well, how is that possible then? Because if he didn't have kids, how could there be a descendant? Well, in that case, that it probably wasn't from him. It could have probably been from one of his brothers.
Tim.
Wait on Tim.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the problem, isn't it? Like we don't really know who, if anybody, has descended from him. From a I was just thinking then, from a paranormal standpoint, obviously you can go visit Vlad's castle, obviously in Romania and that, but as far as I'm aware, it's not very haunted. Many teams have been there and not really got a lot of evidence. It's
which is weird to me, because you'd think that's his home, he'd be there.
But one, I think they probably speak Romanian, so if you're saying hello, are you there, they haven't probably got a clue what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think maybe because it's that long ago, either these spirits have moved on or they've just got fed up. And
I mean, honestly, who would want to stay there? Like, if you died, or maybe like the masses that he had disposed of ran him the hell out of Dodge, and just like, yeah, there's a lot more of us now. So, and again, like, my immediate thought was like, if I was one of the people that got impaled there, I wouldn't want to, like, please pardon the expression, but I wouldn't want to stick around after that. You know what I mean? I'd be like, yeah, I'll go somewhere else. This is too bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, there always seems to be some type of, because there's a few castles throughout Transylvania, Romania, that a lot, at least a few of them always claim that they're the ones that are considered Dracula's castle. Like, this is where he lived, this is where he committed, these murders. But we later find out through documentation, once again, that while the events did occur, that didn't actually happen in this castle. Like, there's Bram Castle, there's Hunadora Castle, there's one more, I can't remember the name of it, but there's one castle in particular that is the true Dracula's castle, like, where he actually was inside. These other castles that he was in, I mean, supposedly where all the events took place, maybe he may have had a part of it, but he was never truly part of that, like, actually in that castle.
Yeah, exactly. And like Matt says there, you got to get those tourist dollars, and this is what they do.
And Rob Werther's a very smart individual for agreeing with me. That's a smart move, sir.
But yeah, it's like we never know exactly where he was for sure. But the places you can visit, obviously these places in Transylvania, and it is fascinating. I mean, we planning, we want to go at some point. But yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a great place to visit, but don't expect, because there's a lot of companies out there that do these visits to these places to ghost hunt and stuff. Don't expect it to be crazy, because as far I've seen, no one's ever really got like amazing evidence.
Right.
Even Ghost Ventures went there, didn't they?
Yeah, Ghost Ventures has been there. I'm sure Most Haunted's been there.
And they actually did
various places on Earth had been there too, except that was to Hunadora Castle again. So it was one of the castles that at that time they thought it was actually Vlad's castle, but now we know it's not.
They tried speaking obviously in Romanian as well to obviously.
Yeah, this is it, isn't it? You mean, because like we said, you need to speak their language, because like if I turn into, if when I die and I'm a spirit and someone's speaking to me in French, I ain't got a clue what you're saying. Like, I'm not going to reply. Do you know? So you have to.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, if I'm there and someone's trying to communicate with me speaking the language,
again,
am I going to communicate? I don't know what you're saying.
You never know.
Some people come from a few states over with accents, and I'm like, what?
That's like here with like Scottish people here. Like I went and worked off Scotland and I couldn't understand a word they were saying.
And apologies to anybody from Scotland, but man, y'all are hard to understand most of the time. I'm sorry,
but it is difficult.
Yeah.
Well, we just got canceled in Scotland. Oh, sorry, guys.
Excuse me, bloody cough tonight. But yes, so obviously Vlad was known as Dracula. That's everyone terms him by Vlad the Impaler or Dracula. And Dracula actually comes from a book written by Bram Stoker.
I recommend reading. It's really good.
It's an 1897 Gothic horror novel by an Irishman. He was Bram Stoker.
Right.
Says here, introduce the character.
He's got the book probably.
He's got it. He's got the book definitely. It was introduced by the character of Count Dracula and established many conventions of subsequent vampire fantasy. The novel tells the story of Dracula's attempt to move from Transylvania to England so that he may find new blood and spread the undead curse, and of the battle between Dracula and a small group of people led by Professor Abraham Van Helsing, which is obviously a whole other story.
Oh yeah, massive.
Which we'll probably do a show about.
Oh god.
He's back.
Nick just spilled back into frame there. There we go.
There we go.
Very nice. You got the nice copy of that.
Yeah.
It also has the red shininess to the edge.
Nice.
Wow.
I love my books outside, but I like the shiny pages.
Yeah. I got
so
something like that too for Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So it's not the only one I got. And the Frankenstein one is golden on side, and Mr. Hyde is silver.
Oh, sweet.
I think I've got a couple of books actually.
Have you?
Yeah, I want to put a couple.
Oh, now I want to look for books. Bye, Tom. No,
I might as well.
I'm only teasing.
Yeah, so that's where like they believe that his book was the story they think that was originally come from Vlad the Impaler, and this is where that link comes between Dracula, Vlad, Transylvania, and all that. That's where it started, and this sort of Chinese whispers sort of interpretations of everything has spawned numerous films and television series and books, and it's become like, because people are so fascinated by this idea of these vampires, like these different creatures, this is what has made so many different movies and that. What you got?
I've got a book.
Oh, nice.
It's a really good one.
Creatures that stalk the night.
Yeah, it
Wow.
talks about all different kinds of vampires from around the world, and ones that have, a lot of research about different ones and where they come from. So yeah, I recommend that one.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really
No,
cool.
There's one thing I should have said in the beginning when we were talking about Vlad, because again, I heard this from a show, but it's just such, it's just so memorable, because I see that who said that? I think it was Patty Johnson who said that the movie still talked about. It is true. I think she's talking about I'm not sure which first movie she's talking about. Dracula with Bela Lugosi or Nosferatu? I'm not sure.
Nosferatu was first. That was
FW.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, it's incredible that after centuries since everything occurred with Vlad, it's like he's inspired, obviously a memorable, marvelous horror story. And of course, this was an unusual horror story because it was real in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Not the vampirism, but where it all came from, at least.
Yeah. I think, what about the glamorization? And this is kind of what we were talking to when you popped into the green room, Nick, when things got all weird.
Yeah.
So I was kind of talking about how vampires are portrayed usually as very romantic and erotic and just like hypersexualized almost. No, who said that? Nick, did you say that? We said we were not talking about this, Tom. Do something, buddy. Do something, buddy. We said we were not talking about that.
Yeah. Well, it's like Twilight to me.
You're on your own with this one.
But yeah, I thought that was a very interesting aspect for something born out of such a very violent backstory. That these things, it's like, okay, they're gonna put your teeth in your neck, and they can either make, and maybe that's what it is because there's the added the thing that you could become one, or being bitten by one will turn you into one, and it's like, ooh, I don't like the way things are. That would be pretty cool to like live forever and blah blah blah. So it's I always thought that was a highly interesting aspect of vampires.
Well, I would say the films you've got like, you can go down from Blade, which is more of your horror side vampire. Then you can go into your more other side, which is like your Twilight fairy. But we're not going to go into that because that's
Look on out of space.
I don't like Twilight. I'm sorry.
I've never seen it. Never will.
Yeah, same man.
That was the high school that came out, so that was the talk of school back then.
Yeah.
But you were saying, Amy, I'm sorry.
Interview with the Vampire. That's actually both. That's both the the kind of like fairycal like side.
But I do think a lot of these have this like you say now, and this like romantic, like erotic side of vampirism, like, and it's weird how it stemmed to that, where it started from, like we've said, back in the day, where people were afraid that when they buried someone, they're going to come up and bloody give you the plague and all this, and now all of a sudden it's like an erotic dream to be bitten by a vampire. Like, how have we shifted so far across?
Yeah, and that was always, like I said, that was always just a very interesting aspect of the vampire mythos.
Which is probably where the love bite from. It's kind of probably got from that.
Yeah.
But obviously,
you think about it. Sorry, I mean, go ahead.
Go on.
Go Nick.
Well, I'm sorry to bring it up one more time, but there's actually something interesting when you think about movies like Twilight. When that movie came out, right around the same time, there was another vampire movie. And Adam, you probably would know this movie immediately. Like,
I'm mad because you're talking about Twilight. You lost me at Twilight.
Well, wait, you didn't hear me out yet. So, Twilight came out. There was this other vampire film that came out that was called 30 Days of Night.
Oh, love that. I got it.
Yeah,
I got it over there.
It was almost like this anti-Twilight type of film. Like they were trying to deter people from seeing Twilight and say, no, that is not a vampire movie.
And that was actually a graphic novel first, the 30 Days of Night.
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys. Mi corazón. I love the Lost Boys. That is phenomenal.
They ruined it. 30 Days of Night. They did the second one, and I think they ruined it, to be honest. They should have stuck with the first one. That's my opinion.
Oh, that's right. They did do the two really, really shite ones after that. I forgot about that. I just blocked them out.
Well, when you think about those two movies, with Twilight and 30 Days of Night, 30 Days of Night, it was almost like they were attempting to save the vampire genre, because when you look at that film, they are what vampires were supposed to be. They were supposed to be monsters. Yet, if you look closely, like when you see how they have like that ghostly skin, the black eyes, the shark-like teeth, they were monstrous, but they still had that human, almost partially, not necessarily seductive, but still that kind of handsome kind of look. Because they had the blood on their faces, but they didn't look like they were these. Other than their faces, they didn't have like the monstrous-looking appearances. They still had.
There was almost beauty in it. Yeah,
because it was comprised of both men and women, and sometimes, although they killed most people, sometimes they brought in some of those people into their own group to join their ranks.
Exactly.
You got Queen of the Damned. Did I mention that one? That's a really good one.
That one,
yeah.
That was sad because that was what's her name? That was Aaliyah's last movie because she
died on a plane crash.
That was horrible. That was horrible.
Wasn't it it was one that made her name basically. That film.
There's always a way though.
And it's funny as well though, because if she had gone on the plane, the one that they were supposed to go on, she wouldn't have died. Basically, they had to separate their production equipment from the people in the room, and she went on the one that they should have gone on with the.
Maybe it's fate, isn't it? That's come back down to fate.
But
it? You can't decide your future in that.
An absolute shame because she was
she was very young too, and she was very beautiful and very talented. Oh my God! I'm sorry, Matt just brought up John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yeah.
And that's a great movie. That is a great movie. And Fright Night. Fright Night is fantastic.
Yeah, I was gonna say you also have the comedy films too, like Fright Night, for example.
Yeah.
There's been loads. I mean, I just searched there, like Dracula movies.
Dracula Dead and Loving It with Leslie Nielsen, which was a terrible movie. I thought it was going to be much better than it was.
And there's one in 1922. There was a
Nosferatu.
Was Nosferatu the vampire?
Nosferatu.
Yeah. He has fangs at the front.
You've got Dracula Old, which is in 2014. Like there's thousands of them. Absolutely thousands.
Bram Stoker's Dracula from like 1991. I think that was Francis Ford Coppola's Winona Ryder, Ethan Hawke. I think he was Ethan Hawke. Maybe I'm mistaken on that.
Last time I heard, there's about 200 films that are that have Dracula featured in it, and what I see Patty Johnson said, she says the black and white was said that the actor was a vampire. She's talking about
Max Schreck, right?
Max Schreck. There was this urban legend that goes on that even without his costume and makeup on, he just had this rather unsettling looking appearance to him. He just had, he looks kind of creepy even as just a normal.
They made a movie about that with Willem. I believe it was Willem Dafoe. I can't recall the name of the movie at the moment.
Yeah, it was in 2000, I think. And there was this urban legend because Max Schreck's performance was so well done and so unsettling, so scary at that time, that there was a rumor that he was actually a real vampire because he was so good with his role. So, and that really stuck. Although sadly, he never really got to see it for very long because unfortunately he died in 1936. So about almost 15 years after Nosferatu came out.
You've also got even Buffy Vampire Slayer. Even they had an episode with Dracula that starred.
About vampires, and it's all there's a huge fascination with these vampires and stuff. And like when we were saying earlier about the eroticism of it, Rob had a good point here. He's saying sex sells. He says, "I'm just waiting for zombie movies to capitalize and make close," which I thought was brilliant because it will it will happen.
They have movies like that. I'll tell you right now.
They've got a zombie film already, haven't they? Where what's it called?
Oh, which movie?
The zombie film that's already kind of like a love one already, where he falls in love with the.
Oh my God! Warm Bodies. I love Warm Bodies.
We watched that on Valentine's Day. I love that movie.
You know what I mean? It's there. It's sex.
It's a Romeo and Juliet zombie movie. It's basically what it is, and it's beautiful because it starts out with "I ain't missing you." I'm sorry, that's like a guilty pleasure song of mine.
They actually call it a paranormal love story. That's actually what the genre is called, paranormal love story. And I love it because, and Adam, I'm sure you've probably been thinking the same thing because this was released a number of years ago. I've been trying to look before he passed away, but I've always wanted to know, what would George A. Romero would be thinking about, if he saw this movie?
My man, he'd probably be very proud of it. He was from what I mean, you had the distinct pleasure of at least meeting the gentleman. He was one of my heroes, and all I knew from him was interviews and people's personal recollections of the gentleman. But from what I understand, he was a teddy bear, and he was just a genuinely awesome human being. And I like to think he would have loved it, and he would have loved he would have gotten the comedy. He would have gotten a lot of the class struggle, because he was always really good with the social political commentary in his movies. I think he would have loved it.
Hiya, Rick, mate. That's old AF reviewers, obviously, guys. Check him out. He's doing some awesome things. The last one,
sub to his channel.
You would love the last video he did. He ate the ghost chili sauce. Was it ghost chili? Yes, it was. He had ghost chili sauce. It didn't end well. It didn't end well for him. Bless him.
It's okay. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, bud.
Just quickly for a mention, because obviously I know we've been going through so much. Obviously, you got in this day and age now, you got the hybrid, which drinks vampire blood that drinks human blood, and also touch takes psychic energy. You've got the psychic vampire or the psi vampire.
They can drain your life force or something.
Yes,
apparently.
and they can do it through sexual acts.
See, again, it comes back to.
I gotta ask a quick question. I gotta get this out of me because this is a television question. And you guys watch that show, What We Do in the Shadows?
Oh no, but that is highly recommended to me.
Oh, I love it. You would, if you like vampire series, you'd love What We Do in the Shadows.
You have to have a look at that one.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I need to see
it. What was the other vampire? I can never get the other one right. Sanguine.
I shall pull it up now.
So
what is it?
I'm ready.
A sanguinarian.
Sanguinarians,
which is basically
the blood vampires.
Yeah, or a sanguine.
To the technical terms, the psychic or energy vampires are known as prana or chai, sai, however you say it.
It's sai.
So there is actual technical names for these kind of people. There's a huge.
It's very rare to get a hybrid though, which is what Don Henry claims to be. So, and he also as well. Oh, my Siri's going off. He also claims as well that he can bench press 3 to 4 times his body weight.
Yeah, right.
Which is really he's done it on TV. He did it on the Tyra Banks show.
Yeah, but we saw Dynamo do that, and he like.
Well,
Dynamo.
and he also went to the doctors and they checked his blood, and his blood types was off the charts. Like,
Really?
Person, yeah.
Interesting. Ronnie, I believe the movie you're thinking of was Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah, I was gonna say. That's not a vampire movie, though.
I mean, it's got Vampira in it.
That is true. Yeah.
And other than that, I'm like, I got nothing. That's my guesstimate as to
the only other movie I can think of is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, because they did something like that.
Yeah, there's allegedly a sequel coming on Netflix.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
wait and hope.
Like 30 years though.
There is that one. Netflix was on BBC.
Which one? There's so many.
It was on it. Not last Christmas before, I believe there was a Dracula series on.
Oh
yeah, there was. I haven't seen it.
And it started off in a nunnery,
which follows the book of obviously that we mentioned how he comes across from obviously Transylvania to England to try and spread this curse of the undead.
Yeah. In the Shadows.
In the Shadows.
Oh, What We Do in the Shadows is on Hulu. Yeah, it is. I was going to ask because Rob was asking if that was on Netflix. I think it actually is on Hulu. I don't think it's on Netflix though. And there is
we have all of those: Prime, Hulu, Netflix, Shudder, all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. We just have Netflix.
Well, you know what's really funny is what you guys have over there on Netflix. We don't necessarily have over here.
Yeah, I've heard that. Apparently, though yours is bigger, you've got a lot more than what we can have. Apparently.
Yeah, but is it quantity over quality? Let's be real. You know, you guys might have the better stuff. We might have more crap, and you guys have the way better stuff. You know, so
I don't know about that. The amount of times you sit there and flick through it and can't find nothing, it's quite common.
I was actually talking. It's funny you say it. If I may, just real quick, this is really off topic, but I was kind of having that discussion with Rob the other night. It was like, you know, back when cable got huge and they had satellite cable, right? So you'd have hundreds of channels and nothing to watch, right? So now cable goes the way of the buffalo, and now digital streaming services are all the new thing, and now you have a ton of them, and there's nothing to watch on them. So it's like history just kind of repeats itself. It's kind of
actually. Now you mentioned that, the other night we went to watch Birds of Prey.
Oh, I think we started on that
because we thought we had it on DVD. Basically, long story short, so we found it on Netflix or on Prime, one of them. So we went to watch it, and then we were halfway through it, and we stopped it. We're like, oh, we'll finish watching it tomorrow. Go back on it tomorrow. It now costs £5 to watch it. Like,
what?
It tempts you in with like,
and then they're like, oh yeah, first one's free, baby. Then you gotta pay.
Had like 15-20 minutes to watch,
and then all of a sudden we got to pay for it. But then, so we just bought it for £4 on the.
And now
that's the smarter move. That's the smarter move.
No, I mean, like you say, they tempt you in with these, getting all these good shows, and then once you're in, 99% of it is crap.
It's like Wonder Woman though. It's cost you £13.
Oh, the new Wonder Woman, yeah.
To watch it when you can just wait until it comes out on DVD and probably get it for.
It's £16.
Yeah, that's.
Only it.
Yeah, there's one here with the Nicolas Cage movie, Willy's Wonderland or whatever. It's like I want to see it because Nicolas Cage doesn't he doesn't have a line in the movie, and I just want to see a movie where Nicolas Cage doesn't talk. I'm like, how's he going to keep the scenery up if he can't talk? So I'm like, okay, but it's $20 to rent it, $20 US to rent it, and I'm like, no, I'll just like,
yeah.
Like, why?
Do you know what I mean? It's the way it's going. Quickly, Rick says here, Gary Oldman is the only Dracula. I don't know who Gary Oldman is personally.
He played Dracula in the 1990s. The Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Okay, I'm not big on names. I know the things.
It's okay, buddy.
I struggle.
Got you, brother.
Yeah. But we are unfortunately coming to the end of the show. Do
we have time for any questions? Any of the
yes.
Oh yeah, of course.
Quickly before we jump into the questions, thank you so much to everyone that follows us. Obviously, guys come over from Instagram. We have just smashed over 1,000 followers on Instagram. So thank you so much, guys.
It was like teetering.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And it wouldn't happen if it wasn't for you guys, Adam, Nick, and everyone that watches. We wouldn't be doing what we do if it wasn't for you guys. Like, you push us to keep doing this. Hence why today I've just Jesus.
You were doing so well. You got this.
I know, I was fluent. I just put up on our channel a new video. We did a visual with one of our new dolls, which is Rebecca and Emma. Some fantastic responses we got from them. Very
and we've got
unusual.
another one coming on.
There's a unboxing video coming up Monday night at 6 p.m.
But it's when we haven't stopped buying.
Yeah, I think this guy's going to be one of our last, though, because he's not human. Or it's not human.
Oh, I can't wait. That's like 1 o'clock my time in the afternoon. I have like, I will watch it when I get home from work, though, I promise you.
It's only like an 8-minute one where we unbox it, but let's just say we put a bid on it and was like, oh, we'll just see what happens. We didn't actually think we'd get it, and we did. And then we thought, oh crap, what have we done?
I thought, I need to attract it quickly.
Yeah, it was too late.
Buyer beware.
So yeah, that's one coming up.
Yeah, it's sat in our house and you pointed it so it stares at me.
Yeah, when you're watching telly, it stares at. Excuse my cough tonight. Oh. Anyway, yeah. So questions. Apologise. Before we jump to questions, you guys got anything to add? What you're coming into the rest of the week?
Adam, why don't you go first this time?
I was waiting. I was like, I'm going to let Nick go. I hate talking over people, but I do it constantly, so I apologize. Yeah, Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am actually finally doing an interview with Ben Scrivens, who is the owner of FrightRags.com, who the company makes all the shirts I wear. Basically, I have like 80 or 90 shirts by them. I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 box sets from them over here. I have like posters from them. Just a fantastic company. I've been shopping with them for about 11 years, and I've been talking to Ben about just as long. And he's a very awesome guy. It's a fantastic company. It's based about 3 hours drive away from where I am. So I love small businesses. They've been doing fantastically. Most horror movie people that you see on YouTube wear the Fright Rag shirts. So, and we've been planning this for a long time. And so, long story short, 2 p.m. this Sunday, March 7th, I'm going to be doing a live stream interview with him. So I'm really excited for that.
Oh, we'll check that one out.
Sweet, definitely. Awesome. We'll watch.
Yeah. That's on. It's this Sunday. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then for me, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but I'll be on another show later tonight here on the Pun Network. I'm going to be on the 13th Dimension, and it's actually kind of an exciting one because this is the first episode that they're doing. We're going to be talking about cryptids. In our case, it's going to be talking about the Mothman, and I actually had to get my file ready for that because it's been a while since I looked at it. I've looked up a lot of the sightings, but that's going to be tonight at 6 o'clock CST. I'm still trying to get used to all these time zones. I don't know what time.
Me too. This is actually the most educational part for me, is I get to learn what time it is over in jolly old England and where it is in Chicago.
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 Love it.
Chicago.
Yeah, so we're doing that tonight. It'll be an exciting one. Then, and then of course, obviously, like I said, I got 5 more stories that I'm still planning on. I'm still working on right now, and hopefully, I'll have them released sometime next week.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Happy days. Quick one for you, Adam. Rick's asking, how much hotter is Reapers than Ghost Chilies?
Much.
There you go, Rick. And he's trying Reaper sauce in his next video. So
are you really? All right, dude. Yeah. Good on you, brother. Like, just be ready for it.
Kiss your bumhole goodbye.
Maybe. I mean, it all depends. Everybody's different. Can we say butthole on the channel? I didn't know.
We're probably going to get this removed.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, yeah, that figures. Yeah, you'll do fine, buddy. You'll do fine.
There you go, Rick. There you go. Right, so questions. We've got a couple tonight, and here we go. Just a random one I pulled out, so apologise if these questions aren't amazing. What is the total length of all the canals in Venice?
Oh, my dad would probably know this one.
Is the answer going to be in like kilometers or meters? Because we do miles over here, and I know it's a little different.
We'll do miles. We do
All right.
miles.
Oh, you do miles? Oh, well, I am grossly uneducated.
That makes still right.
So I am going to say 147 miles.
Don't forget, guys, in the chat, you can.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think. Yeah, it's got to be up there, isn't it?
There's a lot of canals in Venice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. Oh my goodness! I can't. All right, you know what? I'm gonna have to say 200.
20. Yeah, you said
20?
20.
You said just 20.
You might be right.
Wow.
He's usually pretty good at this. Matt's usually pretty good.
Maybe a bit more than that.
I'm gonna go with you as well, Nick. I'm gonna say about 200.
Yeah.
You can't jump on the bandwagon.
All right. I'll go 300 then. Just
300 miles.
If I'm right, you're all gonna look silly.
Yes.
250. Right. The answer is Matt. Again, you're so good at this, Matt. 26 miles.
He looked that up.
No, he's smart.
Let's
be clear on something. Either he's smart or he's looking it up while we're trying to figure this out.
He doesn't. He's a highly intelligent individual, and he works like logistics. Just a very I'll believe that. And if he's wrong, he'll let me know in the chat. But I know the guy for.
I would just tell you, yeah, I cheated.
That was a total guess. See,
apparently Birmingham in England has 35 miles of canals, so more than Venice.
Wow.
I've been to Birmingham and I didn't see that many. So
I didn't even know that.
Maybe they're more spaced out than in Venice, and they're all just
maybe. All right, next one. Which country is the largest producer of wine? Italy. Got me Italy.
Well, obviously, it would be somewhere in Europe, I believe.
I'm gonna say
Greece.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say Vienna.
Oh my goodness. Let's see.
The great. I've been to Vienna.
I'm gonna go Italy. I'm sticking with Italy. Matt says France. I should have stuck with France. Matt's usually right.
I'm gonna go with France. Honestly, France.
Yeah.
Rob's going with good old USA.
I think Matt's looking these up.
That's what I'm saying.
France is very intelligent. Good on you, Matt. It is France.
Oh, I got it too. Yeah.
Right, last one then. No sarcasm there as well. Excuse me, I do apologise for the coughing. I do apologise.
You all right, buddy?
Yeah.
You have water?
It's winding me up.
I'm gonna let him suffer. He's not no water.
He's probably allergic to Matt's bulk pucky in the comments.
Yeah.
I have an allergic reaction to that. I'm trying to keep it clean.
True or false? If you add up all the time people have spent watching Gangnam Style on YouTube, is it longer than the entire history of human civilization? Probably.
I'm gonna go with. Oh man, I watched that so many times. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no on that one.
Okay, so I've only ever seen.
Exactly. Let's just ask Matt. What's Matt say?
I've only ever seen creepypasta versions of that song. I've never actually seen the real music videos, so I'm gonna have to go with no.
We watch it loads.
It's got to be false, surely.
We watch it loads of stuff.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Rob's guessing true. That, sadly, that might be the case.
Yeah.
And so is Matt. Oh boy.
Is it true?
I think Matt should just run this show.
No. You ever talk to the guy? No. Don't let him run the show.
Wow. It's true. It's got over 3 million views more than 25,000 years have been spent watching it.
Oh my God. That is.
All right, Matt. You didn't get it this time.
Loads.
25,000 years have been spent watching that one film.
There you go, people of the world. That's what you spend your time doing.
Yeah.
That and sleeping.
No wonder civilization's screwed.
Yeah, dude. You said it.
You know, instead of looking at cures for cancer or something, we're watching Gangnam Style for 25,000 years.
That's just, I can't think of a worse personal hell. What about Gangnam Style? And you're like, no.
Don't even go.
Hey, you know, that actually reminds me of, I don't know if you guys ever watched Family Guy, but there was that one episode when Peter and Brian, they went to that alternate universe where the world was eventually used for by Native Americans, and they played the song "Oh yeah, for like
oh my God,
week in a row.
we actually did anybody here watch The Walking Dead?
Oh, of course.
So do you remember the annoying song "Easy Street" that was on that Daryl was being tortured to at the one point? So my boss thought it would be a really cool idea the other day. And Tom, feel free to look this up when you're done, or Amy can torture you with it throughout the evening if you haven't heard it. But
okay, then.
So my boss decided it would be a great idea the other day to put it on for 6 hours.
Oh my God.
And I was not a happy camper. And anybody that knows the song or has seen it, you can kind of be like, and I think it was 20 minutes in, and I'm like, yeah, I poor Daryl. I now know how he felt in that. It was terrible.
Too, when I watched that, and that's kind of like what it is in my job that I have. We got
Congratulations on that, Nick. By the way, that's fantastic for your accolades on that, bro. I can't believe we haven't talked about that yet.
Just drop it in there quick. We got time.
Yeah, that Rob's Hefty is lying. He loves that talk. No, actually, my job. I mean, for a while, my job, we had all this. We just had a certain amount of music tracks, and they would play almost every 2 hours the same damn music, almost as if there was no other music in the world, and I couldn't listen to it anymore. I had to put my headphones in. So I was gonna say, yeah, you look a little bit blurry there, but it looks like you're back.
Yeah, that's why. Sorry about that. I was listening. I was just focus, please.
I've only just noticed your background, Nick. It's really good.
You've only just noticed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's awesome.
We did speak about 5 minutes in. But yeah, unfortunately, guys, we have run out of time. But it's been an awesome chat tonight. Everyone that's joined in the chat in the comments, thank you so much. This is you make the show, obviously. Otherwise, it would just be 4 people just chatting to each other. It'd be a bit boring.
We're big.
But yeah, so we've got some more videos obviously dropping Monday. We've got an unboxing. I'm live tomorrow night, obviously with Scaredy Cat on Instagram, usual time, 8 o'clock UK time. And apart from that,
we're going to try and do a podcast as well.
We're going to try and drop a podcast, and we are trying. We did start, but we've been that busy with work, etc. It's just we both have full-time jobs. It's a nightmare. Yeah. But yeah, so everyone, thanks for joining. Next week, same time, Friday, 8 p.m. UK, whatever time it is your end. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm over here.
There you go. But yeah, we'll be on. We could be doing demons. We could be doing mediums. We could be doing anything. We haven't got a clue yet. We will.
Who knows?
We will be. It will be a laugh as always. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weeks, obviously, and obviously stay safe and obviously enjoy yourselves.
Sub to the channel. Sub to Tom and Amy's Paranormal Mysteries.
Hefty, and obviously follow Nick's. Nick's doing a lot of these talking books, which are absolutely awesome. And Hefty does as well.
And his chilies.
Yeah, Hefty with his chilies. You got to check him out. It's insane. I certainly won't be doing it. So yeah, cheers, guys. See you next Friday, 8 p.m. Have a good one. See you later.